America's oldest soccer tournament is back.
Oh, it's incredible!
The field doesn't care if you're a pro or trying to be one. It only asks, how bad do you want it?
It's unbelievable!
The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup.
From Shell Energy Stadium, it's a round of 32 match in the historic Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup as the Houston Dynamo host Sporting Kansas City. Hello, everyone. Alongside Eric Dobransky, I'm Maura Sheridan. Thank you so much for joining us. These two MLS sides have met in 6 of the last 7 Open Cups, so we got a bit of a rivalry brewing here. And as we mentioned, historic Open Cup, 108 editions of this tournament, and this is where the remaining MLS teams join. And of course, we are playing in the round of 32, so after that we will get a bracket here with 16 teams. Orlando City and Sacramento Republic lost yesterday. It means we have a new champion coming. Well, let's talk about some young superstars on each side. For Houston, it's Thor Olferson.
And it's a player that when isolated out wide, he's so dangerous. And it's not even just the 1-versus-1 matchup, the initial matchup. It's what he can do in manipulating that second and third defender, allowing it to create space for his teammates in that final third. It's going to impact this attack for the Houston Dynamo.
And for Kansas City, Steven Afrifa, he is the 8th overall pick, someone to watch out for.
And a dynamic attacker, a lot of energy, good technical ability. I think the biggest key for him is obviously this being his first start, is the way he grows into the match and finds different ways to impact this matchup. He's a player that can play in front of a back line, behind a back line. He can stretch defenders, so it's going to be very important to get some early touches.
Well, here's a starting 11 for both sides. What can we expect?
I think anytime you have a tournament style setup like this with the U.S. Open Cup, midfielders become so crucial. And Houston Dynamo and Ben Olsen rolling out a 5-back and then 2 midfielders. So Luis Caicedo and Brooklyn Raines are going to be really important with just those 2 in the midfield. Who becomes the ball winner, who becomes the playmaker, and what those roles really adjust to. And then for Sporting Kansas City, Kinda is the only starter from that Sunday matchup in their 2-1 win over the Seattle Sounders. 10 changes for Peter Vermees and his side, but what does this midfield of Kinda, Hernandez really look like as well as they play make and really try to set the tempo and the rhythm?
The field. Every neighborhood has one. Grass, concrete, or dirt. The stage is the same. The rules, unwavering. And the goals, beautiful.
It goes in! Improbable scenes!
It's where the dream begins to achieve the ultimate victory.
The underdogs have prevailed once again!
One cup, open to all.
There is a celebration in Orlando.
Now, America's oldest soccer tournament is back.
Oh, it's incredible!
The field doesn't care if you're a pro or trying to be one. It only asks, how bad do you want it?
It's unbelievable!
The Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup.
From Shell Energy Stadium, it's a round of 32 match in the historic Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup as the Houston Dynamo host Sporting Kansas City. Hello, everyone. Alongside Eric Dobransky, I'm Maura Sheridan. Thank you so much for joining us. These two MLS sides have met in 6 of the last 7 Open Cups, so we got a bit of a rivalry brewing here. And as we mentioned, historic Open Cup, 108 editions of this tournament, and this is where the remaining MLS teams join. And of course, we are playing in the round of 32, so after that, we will get a bracket here with 16 teams. Orlando City and Sacramento Republic lost yesterday. It means we have a new champion coming. Well, let's talk about some young superstars on each side. For Houston, it's Thor Olferson.
And it's a player that when isolated out wide, he's so dangerous. And it's not even just the 1-versus-1 matchup, the initial matchup. It's what he can do in manipulating that second and third defender, allowing it to create space for his teammates in that final third. It's going to impact this attack for the Houston Dynamo.
And for Kansas City, Steven Afrifa, he is the 8th overall pick, someone to watch out for.
And a dynamic attacker, a lot of energy, good technical ability. I think the biggest key for him is obviously this being his first start, is the way he grows into the match and finds different ways to impact this matchup. He's a player that can play in front of a back line, behind a back line. He can stretch defenders, so it's going to be very important to get some early touches.
Well, here's the starting 11 for both sides. What can we expect?
I think anytime you have a tournament-style setup like this with the U.S. Open Cup, midfielders become so crucial. And Houston Dynamo and Ben Olsen rolling out a 5-back and then 2 midfielders. So Luis Caicedo and Brooklyn Raines are going to be really important with just those 2 in the midfield. Who becomes the ball winner, who becomes the playmaker, and what those roles really adjust to. And then for Sporting Kansas City, Kinda is the only starter from that Sunday matchup in their 2-1 win over the Seattle Sounders. 10 changes for Peter Vermees and his side, but what does this midfield of Kinda, Hernandez really look like as well as they play make and really try to set the tempo and the rhythm?
Well, just about ready to go here from Shell Energy Stadium. Again, Eric Dobransky and Maura Sheridan. This is the round of 32, so playing to move on to the round of 16. Our ref today is Sergey Damianchuk. Of course, Sporting Kansas City in blue, Houston in that classic orange. And right now, these two teams having very different MLS seasons. Sporting Kansas City just had their first win last weekend. They beat Seattle, who's a very good side this year, but it was a long time coming. Finally got that relief. And for Houston, they're sitting in the middle of the pack in the West right now. So interesting to see how these two teams come out in this Open Cup game. Yeah,
and when you see those teams have success over a long spell of time, it's being consistent and good in both boxes. Defensively, in the attacking third, and Sporting KC, just the 5 goals on the season, 2 of which came Sunday in their matchup against Seattle Sounders. 16 goals against thus far in the regular season. And then on the opposite side, Houston Dynamo, they're second in the MLS in the fewest goals against in 8. They have 5 clean sheets. So you have an offense that is looking to get going, and then you have a defense in the Houston Dynamo that's been consistent thus far.
Well, Houston will start with possession at home. And we are underway. Round of 32. One of 8 games today in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. Of course, we already had some cup sets, had one yesterday as Pittsburgh Riverhounds beat, very surprisingly, New England. So a USL Championship side beating an MLS side. We know there's going to be another USL Championship side moving on as well. As Memphis and Birmingham play tonight. Sporting Kansas City, again, that first win against Seattle this weekend, so they're definitely feeling more confident. 2-1 was the final score. Is the first time they'd scored multiple goals in 12 straight matches, so that was dating back to last year.
And we've talked about it in previous matchups. When you have a difficult start like Sporting KC has had thus far in the MLS regular season, sometimes a tournament like this is such a welcomed thing where you get a matchup in a U.S. Open Cup where you've been extremely successful. I mean, 3 Open Cup wins under Peter Vermes, titles.
Afrifa cuts it back, little dummy run. There's a shot, and it's wide.
And 4 U.S. Open Cup titles overall in the organization, 3 under Peter Vermes. So this is a team and organization, and same with Houston Dynamo. These are 2 organizations that are very ambitious to make runs in this tournament, and it starts with making the round of 16 and advancing from this matchup.
Well, mentioned this in the open, but these 2 sides have met in 6 of the last 7 Open Cups, and of course they've had a lot of success, especially Sporting Kansas City, in this tournament in general in this century. They've won 4 and 3 under Peter Vermes, their head coach. He's trying to hoist that trophy again this year.
And when we talked to both coaches earlier this week, and really it does come down to the scenarios that present themselves in these tournament style settings, is opening exchanges become so crucial because they really determine some of the in-game adjustments, halftime adjustments, later in the game adjustments that you can make. They also start to set the tone and the rhythm for the matchup as well.
This one bounced around the box and then cleared for Sporting Kansas City. Keone with that cross. Houston's going with a 5-back today. When we talked to Ben Olsen, he said it's something that they're really looking to implement in the regular season, and so they're trying it out here in the Open Cup.
Yeah, and he mentioned that the importance was how long can they live in the 5-back, and how deep do they get pinned in? Do they get the wingbacks involved early? And that's where it goes back, those opening exchanges. Can they get those players involved, create those advantages out in those wide spaces? And then what does it look like in transition as well? Because especially with the quick turnaround that both of these clubs have had, Sporting KC a day shorter because they did have the trip to Seattle on Sunday, and then now to Houston here tonight, whereas in Houston played on Saturday. But still, when you're implementing something like a 5-back, that takes some preparation, and obviously Ben Olsen and his coaching staff and this group have done a tremendous job of going through some of those nuances and those changes in the details.
Just worked around here for the Dynamo. Some pressure coming for Sporting Kansas City. See Shelton and company getting forward. Got Shelton, Afrifa, and Janice up top. Kinda, of course, operating as well. Janice with some pressure. Gonna cause a turnover. It's turned around here and off the leg of Zusi for Sporting Kansas City. Player that has a ton of experience, not only in the MLS, where he's now with 350 appearances just overall with Sporting Kansas City. He's played 404 games, total competitions, and 19 of those have been Open Cup games, so it's very helpful to have those players on your roster.
Yeah, anytime you can have that balance between the experience and some of the youth that you have within the team, I think you can learn so much. You can grow into matchups, and this goes across the board. Talking to a lot of coaches through the U.S. Open Cup, squad rotations it's going to be a part of the game, because when you play a Saturday or Sunday matchup and then you have a midweek fixture and then you have another regular season match.
Johnny's off the cross, too high. Afrifa was open.
And there was a moment here for Sporting KC to make an early statement in this match. Janice getting in behind, and what a ball in by Graham Zuzi. Janice playing this ball across, and really for Afrifa, just getting the approach wrong, just really needing to guide it on frame. But again, that comes with a bit of experience, and we highlighted him in the Open. He joined the team late, been there since April 26th. He's an 8th overall pick in this 2023 draft. This is a tremendous time, not only for him to get an MLS start in a US Open Cup match, but this is a great opportunity for Sporting KC, Peter Vermees, to really get a good look at what Steven Afrifa can do, not only tonight, but moving forward, because again, this is a team that is sputtering a bit offensively in the MLS regular season, but it could be a little bit of nerves there at the beginning, but those are finishes that you're going to expect for Afrifa to start having later on in his career throughout this season as well.
Well, he's certainly been open. On the other side, Houston with a set-piece opportunity. Can they be the first to take the lead? It's Smith back on this one, soaring through the air, back post, header wide. Grabbed by Dorsey. Oh, Griffin Dorsey, part of that 5-back for Houston today. Just 24 years old. He's played in 5 regular season games this year for Houston, who's just played actually less matches than everyone else at 9. A lot of teams have played 11. Gasper on the throw. Zusi up that touchline.
And Ben Olsen had really highlighted being in this 5-back. It's so important how you recognize those moments where Griffin and Smith can join, obviously in different sequences and scenarios. But this is a team that takes a lot of pride in being very good defensively. So the 5-back is not to maybe take away from some of that influence, but it's to possibly add some of an attacking variance as well.
Heel pass doesn't work out, and it's not totally cleared. Looks like we're getting a handball there. Yeah, you mentioned it. That one off Ulferson, we were talking about in the Open, but this Houston team's only allowed 8 goals this year. They've been really good defensively. They've scored just 10. They're second in goals allowed in the MLS. Again, they've played less games than a couple of other teams, but still impressive mark to start the season.
Yeah, rolling into this matchup, 4 games unbeaten in the MLS regular season. So 2 wins, 2 draws, and just in that 4-game stretch, they've got 5 goals for, only 1 against.
Zusi's been a problem, dumps it off top of the box. It's turned over. Leading pass, and we're going to get a foul, a yellow card as well. Otherwise, that was an open lane for Ulferson.
And you can already see how important the start is to both of these clubs, because, and you saw it with the ball from Graham Zuzi to Janice, those outlet passes are getting there very quickly. It's 1 and 2 passes and they're out. They're really trying to expose the different areas that they're making available, whether it's Houston in the 5-back, whether it's Sporting KC and their commitment to getting those numbers forward.
So Espinoza is going to get that yellow. He has the most Open Cup experiences of anyone on this roster. Of course, 36 years old. He's a legend with Sporting Kansas City. He's been in 25 Open Cup games, now 26 with this one. Hernandez, Johnny's. You can just see the where that Houston's sitting right now. Hernandez turns. Switching the point of attack here for Sporting Kansas City. And these two teams met last year in the round of 16, and it ended up being a 2-1 victory for Sporting Kansas City. That was at Children's Mercy in Kansas City. So this time around, Houston has home field advantage. Left in the middle. Back with Houston. Dorsey has it and gets fouled from behind.
These are those moments where Houston's going to look to get out quickly. And again, I'm going to be fascinated by how quickly those outside backs can get forward and how quickly they release.
Olferson fires, it's in! How about that? Dynamo lead.
And was very comfortable with the decision really early. Knew where the defenders were set up. Was really decisive on getting this shot off really quickly. The header just bouncing out. The prep touch right there, setting up his left foot. And just the placement and the pace just makes this so difficult. And obviously off a quick transition, you still have a bit of traffic in front of you. But the decisiveness there in that moment, as that play develops, you're getting a new picture of frame, you're getting a new picture of where everybody's set. And what a start for this young man in this club tonight.
Well, Ben Olsen was very excited to see how this young group, especially up top, operated. Olferson, of course, he's very highly touted. He was drafted 4th in the 2022 draft out of Duke, ACC Player of the Year, etc. Tons of accolades for him. And they're just trying to work him into the lineup, see where he fits right now. And obviously, that's a pretty clinical finish.
I was going to say, it usually finishes like that.
Yeah, hey, coach.
Yeah, get the coaches thinking. But again, I'll go back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this matchup. This is an opportunity for players to really make their mark and show, because in the MLS regular season, there's plenty of time left. So you can earn minutes, you can earn starts, earn appearances, and obviously being as decisive and as clinical in front of goal. That's something, obviously goals change games. So when you can come on and score goals, I don't know many coaches that are gonna hold you out of lineups. So really good start for him. Really hasn't had that many touches central. We saw a couple touches out on that left flank earlier on.
Yeah, Olferson, Ferreira, two players to really watch out for on the Houston side, and they come up big. Stored up and handled there.
And that was a situation, we talk about the release of the outside backs with Griffin and Smith. That was just a quick ball over the top that just landed at the feet of Olferson. So really no need to get all those numbers involved. It was just really decisive moment.
well, you saw some of the scores around the Open Cup as Columbus is really taking it to Loudoun United right now. And part of the reason for that is Loudoun got an early red card, and so it's just been an issue for them ever since, but still a very lopsided score.
And Birmingham Legion about to take a 2-0 lead into halftime against Memphis 901. Juan Aguadello with the first goal of that matchup. And Birmingham Legion, talk about regular season, they're off to a tremendous start in the USL Championship as well.
Blocked off of Gasper. Zusi opts to go behind him here. Castellanos, Espinoza. Well, you think about that early look that Afrifa had. Wasn't able to tally there. And now Houston goes down and scores. Want that one back.
Yeah, and they're going to create other opportunities, so it's about staying sharp. And they really did have a fast start to this first half, and it's kind of dulled a little bit.
John East on a service, and it's headed out. That was in the danger zone.
Yeah, and as I say that, a ball gets whipped in. 4 Sporting KC players around the box. Really well played in ball from Janice, and we saw it on the ball to Afrifa as well.
It looks like we have a player down for Houston. It's Keone.
This is Sporting KC going short on their first corner. And these are 2 teams and 2 coaches that really value set pieces, free kicks. And anytime you're in the midst of a regular season, you really do have your set of routine set pieces, scripted runs and things of that nature. But when you get into a tournament like the US Open Cup, you can tend to highlight different things as well, highlight different matchups.
It looks like he's going to be good to go and continue, just has to step back on. But especially if you're Sporting Kansas City on that set piece point. Look, they only have 5 goals in the regular season, so if you have a chance to really organize something, I'm sure that's helpful.
Oh, absolutely, especially as you mentioned, for a team that is really trying to spark the offensive side of the ball. Set pieces are always a tremendous way to get that going. It builds confidence. And obviously, good teams find a good balance between set piece goals, goals in transition, and the run of play.
Espinoza. Move to the middle here. Dumped off, but is behind Hernandez. Right to Houston. Zusi picks it up. Thought about going. A little congested. Some space to Johnny now. Runs right into Smith. Off the turnaround. He's able to control. Houston on the same page there. Keone out of play. And it's a corner as well.
Yeah, really gifting Sporting KC a corner kick here because didn't really have to rush it there. And you can see Sporting KC struggling with finding when to be patient and when to play with that urgency, especially against this back 5.
Well, it's going to be Kinda. Sword up, back post, headers too high. Like the look there off of Rindov, one of the center backs.
Yeah, talking about set piece goals and corner kicks. That's when you bring up some of the defenders like Rindov and those players that don't typically see the final third. As we take a look back at Ulferson's goal. Ball headed right to him. But just the way he's able to bring this down, set it on his left foot.
Again, that was in the 12th minute. Oh, another foul. It's Dorsey, slow to get up. Both these teams have already played an Open Cup game, which many teams are entering the fray now for the MLS, but for Sporting Kansas City and Houston Dynamo, they have one under their belt. For Sporting Kansas City, it was pretty easy going against Tulsa Athletic, final score 3-0. For Houston, though, a much closer game against Tampa Bay Rowdies, final score was 1-0.
Yeah, and the score.
This is dangerous. Zusi. It's back for Sporting Kansas City, but Zusi with that turnover.
And the score line for that third round game for Sporting KC, 3-0, but they had to save an early penalty kick. Giving up a penalty kick in the 17th minute. And then they went on to score in the 32nd, 54th, and 68th.
Oh, this is going to stay with Sporting Kansas City. A good chance on a set piece here. See if they can make anything of it. Bikinda again.
There's that individual ability of Afrifa, able to draw two defenders, the creativity. He can explode out of space. What he did so well in his college career at Florida International University.
Kinda, player that's been battling injuries, but is back and can just trying to get healthy here. Whips this one in, back post, header! Off the woodwork. So close for Sporting Kansas City. Almost the equalizer, and it's Rindov again.
And as you mentioned, it's Rindov again. He's gotten two really good looks. He's getting separation. The first look on a corner sailed over the crossbar. Now he's starting to creep this ball a little bit lower. And now hitting the crossbar. You've seen Sporting KC be pretty effective on free kicks thus far.
Houston on the move. Keone in the 18, pulls it back, doesn't have numbers. Chips this one up, no one there. And redirected out. Castellanos didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, a really safe play there by Castellanos. Really looked like he did a good job of slowing that first play down and allowing his teammates to get back behind the ball, but still conceding the corner kick here.
Keone, a reserve player, will take this, joined the team on loan from Columbia last year. That one's deep and missed. Ulferson the target. Castellanos, Zusi, trying to find the seams here of this Houston defense.
And this is going to be a problem that they're going to have to solve throughout the game, is when you get when you allow all those numbers back behind the ball for Houston Dynamo, you know, how are you going to pull out, whether it's Smith or Griffin, how are you going to pull out one of those defenders? Because they seem very comfortable and really just inviting Sporting KC in, and then attacking or defending in numbers there.
Oh, Radoja a little quick on that start there for Sporting Kansas City.
That's why I think Sporting KC just needs to find a bit more of a balance between being urgent and patient. I think they need to speed up some of the play in the final third.
Zusi, Johnny's on this right wing. Off his left foot, and that one's low.
And that was better by Sporting KC, that ball by Graham Zusi, and he's been the one that's initiated the pace every time that ball has hit the final third for Sporting KC.
Looks like FC Cincinnati took care of business against New York. So that's your final there, and no surprise that Columbus ended up beating Loudoun United. Keone on the move. Ferreira in the center there. He moves it toward the middle, and it's tackled out. Nice job by the defense there for Sporting Kansas City. Poke it away, Castellanos.
Really good tackle there by Radoja.
Up the middle, evading the defense. Falling down in the box there is Shelton. Haven't talked about him too much. Kyrie Shelton, again, a player they're excited to get some looks from today. There's a lot of off the field work in the Kansas City area. He's won the humanitarian award twice. Radoja. Service up, Johnny's gets a foot on that, and it bounces to Tarbell.
And you've seen it already in 28 minutes that I think some of the wide play for Sporting KC is going to be its most valuable, because you're seeing some of the services, and sometimes when you're new to playing the structure that Houston Dynamo are playing in that 5-back, you tend to assume too much. When you're playing five defenders back there, you jump in the box and you're defending a service, you're just kind of looking over each other's shoulders and saying, just kind of, you have them, right? You're just passing along players, and it gets lost in some of that communication. So you've seen it a couple times in some of the services as we see Graham Zusi playing forward, and I think that's where Sporting KC is going to find some of the success, is maybe some of the miscommunication that comes in some of those balls from the wide area.
Well, the truth is, this is, for both teams, not a group that would typically play together. There's a lot of, moving parts to the 11s here on both rosters, and so it takes a while to build some chemistry over the course of the game, and also these are players trying to figure out opponents as well, and you can't really prepare as you normally would for, a team that you're not sure what they're going to put out there. That one served up and is hit out. But Sporting Kansas City can reset.
But as we've seen, Sporting KC doing a lot more of the building into the final third, and gradually, with the addition of numbers in there and then the wide play, whereas in Houston's it's been a bit more transitional. It's been a bit more of a counterattack. Obviously, the Olfarson's goal was just a special goal, and it was a ball that just kind of dropped to him. So there wasn't much of a build to it.
Hernandez fighting for it. Castellanos shuffles. Free agent signing in the offseason. Started 3 games for Sporting Kansas City. Wide again. Quick little poke back to Kinda. Him and Espinoza combining. Oh, it stretches out, but it's back with Houston now. Well, we're half an hour in, and Houston Dynamo Sporting Kansas City here at Shell Energy Stadium. 1-0 the score, 12th-minute strike from Thor Alfarsson, and that's where we stand at the moment. Well, sometimes it can feel like when you're going up against a more defensive-minded team, Sporting Kansas City's possessing, and you feel like they're dominating this game. Not the case if they can't find the right spaces. And Houston's okay with living it if you're not going anywhere.
Absolutely. I was just about to say, Ben Olsen's got to be pleased with how his team has adjusted to the new structure. I mean, other than they have misfired a couple times here in that moment right there, finding the outlet pass and be able to collectively build forward. But as you mentioned, I don't think they're going to mind at all having to really absorb some of the pressure.
Afrifa off the service. Physical play. No good luck there. Chipped back into the box. Slips past Afrifa, head-to-head with Smith. Nice move. Blazes past the defense there and earns a corner. I mean, presumably you would want him to play more centrally, I would assume, right?
Yeah, because I think it just asks a lot of different questions, and I think for him and Janice, they're really floating and trying to interchange a bit more here, because other than the beginning of this first half, they found a lot of success, and now they're trying to ask a couple different questions to the back line for Houston Dynamo. So you see Afrifa a little bit wider in some instances.
From Kinda. That was not to Rindov this time around, or he didn't actually get the header. I don't know if it was to him or not. Kinda. Hernandez curls this one up.
Kinda has whipped in a couple really good services. Obviously, we talked about the two that found Rindov. That could be a potential problem for Houston. I mean, you get the wrong touch on it.
Alfarsson. Starts, stops. Keone over his head.
And you wonder if this system and this structure for Ben Olsen is going to be something that he wants to do for a 90-minute stretch. You know, was it a structure that he just wants to see? Obviously, when he spoke to us, it was something that they wanted to experiment with, and they wanted to see if it was something that they could move forward with in the future. But maybe it was to absorb a bit pressure, make it difficult for Sporting KC to break them down. And then really you're managing the halves of a US Open Cup game where, you know, you're looking to advance. So you get a goal by Alfarsson, and you're playing really sustainably defensively. So here we see the tackle.
Yeah, back-to-back tough ones there, but it's Shelton who ultimately draws the whistle.
And I think what we've been able to see from Afrifa out wide, and going back to your question, playing him, him being on the ball centrally as well, I think those are going to be the moments that are going to break Houston Dynamo down. Is some of those 1v1 moments. You see him drawing in a second defender, and when a team's playing a 5-back, you're really having to manipulate space as much as possible, and he's so deceptive.
Smith past Zusi, tries to dish it off, but it bounces off Zusi. Good recovery there, maybe a lucky bounce. Johnny's making a run. Here's a chance. Gasper rips him down. And we're gonna get a card, a red card. Oh no. Well, the tides have turned. Of course, Houston's up.
And Janice just putting Gasper in that situation. I mean, what a fantastic first touch with that ball over the top, and Gasper had no choice but to drag Janice down, and obviously I think the discussion now was it in the box or outside, and it looks like the referee's trying to determine that, but this touch right across, I mean, that is purpose, that is decisiveness, that ability to bring that across your body, and there's no question that that was a scoring opportunity. And for Sporting KC, it's going to be disappointing if it is outside the box, because you probably would have leveled the score. But now for Houston Dynamo, you're going to play a significant amount of this match a player down.
So again, Chase Gasper is out, just got the red card here, and it's not a penalty, it's just a hair outside the 18. We'll see what Kinda and company can do. And again, they've got some cushion now and some time to figure it out if this set piece isn't a goal. This is, again, things shifting momentum-wise. There's that wall for Houston. Kinda just goes for it, it's saved. Tarbell denies. It falls into his own net, gets a little tangled up there. Not the hero on that play.
And really well done there by Tarbell, because it looks like he saw it late. Anytime you have a set piece that close, you have a lot of traffic really close to you.
Well, Kinda's at it again. Whips this one up, and it's over everyone's head. Still with Kansas City, but again, they've got. Well, we'll take a look at this save first.
And again, it's Kinda on the ball, his ability to get this ball up and down, and that was definitely going to hit the back of the net if Tarbell doesn't intervene.
Ran right into that post in the process, but appears to be all right.
And for Sporting KC, it's always, and it's not just them, but it's that common discussion of you'd probably rather the penalty kick equalize at 1-1 than the red card necessarily. Obviously, you'll take the red card. Obviously, in a different situation, you take both. But with the way Houston Dynamo have defended thus far, I mean, they're still going to be tough to break down with 10 players.
Yeah, John East just catching everybody off with his pace there.
And they've obviously seen something, because that was the second time they've played Janice in behind. One was the earlier play that when he played the ball across to Afrifa, and then they've found Stephen Afrifa a couple times there on that right side as well. They've been able to stretch that side of the field. But now for Houston Dynamo, really fortunate that they found the early goal, because now they're going to have to sit on that 1-0 lead for a while, because they're going to get players behind the ball like they have. They're sitting very deep. Just going to invite Sporting KC in, and this is going to be where individually they're going to have to find players that engage 1 versus 1 and move defenders.
From Kinda. Punched out.
So again, for Houston Dynamo, they're going to welcome that every single time. Sporting KC can knock 9, 8, 10 passes together, but if it's all for naught, then.
John East breaking some ankles there. Zusi, back post. That header was missed. I think it skimmed the head of the defender there in Dorsey.
I mean, John East has been electric since the beginning of this 45. I mean, that early chance. I mean, obviously that first touch that draws Gasper the red card. And that sequence right there. And he looks like a player that wants to change this game and influence this match. And he might even really start to open up some of that space for Afrifa, and then Shelton on the other side as well.
Zusi. Well, they've really just been moving it between the back four for the last couple of minutes. Looking for an opportunity to pounce. Afrifa, top of the box. All those defenders swarm, and he has some trouble getting a shot off. They're aware of what he can do. We'll get a foul there. Bedoya.
And those are the spaces for Sporting KC that they're going to be able to take advantage of and possibly start to build into some link-up play there. Because this is going to sound really obvious, but nothing's going to happen accidentally when Houston Dynamo are sitting 10 players behind the ball. So you have to be intentional with who you're moving, how you're moving them. And as you mentioned, they seem comfortable playing it along the back, but Houston Dynamo are going to feel comfortable with that as well.
Johnny's swerves towards the middle, and that's a good defensive play. Keone comes back. Jefferson. Remember, we already saw a red card tonight that I'm aware of. Loudoun United got one, and that totally changed the game. Columbus just started to dominate. 5-1 was the final there. Houston would prefer that not be the story in this one.
I think for Ben Olsen and his coaching staff, they're thinking, let's get this to halftime. If we need to restructure the formation, if we need to restructure the game plan, we can. But right now, they haven't really given up anything extremely dangerous. Obviously, Rindov hit the crossbar on the free kick. Afrifa missed early on, but that was early. So I just don't think defensively there's really anything. I think for Ben Olsen and his side, it's going to be figuring out what attacking sequences look like. How many numbers can they really commit going forward with not opening themselves up too much and be susceptible to an equalizer.
Afrifa plays that into the 18, nobody home. Give it away. Back to Kansas City. Alferson's all the way back here. Big boot. He gives them some breathing room.
Yeah, and I think for Peter Vermees, they're probably going to discuss at least the urgency part of being in the final third, because especially being a player up, don't be scared to commit more numbers. Don't be scared to, if you see that pocket of space, go ahead and hit that space, because most likely we'll have the space in behind covered, because Houston Dynamo aren't going to send and commit that kind of numbers. So go ahead and risk that run, but just do it a bit quicker.
Bartlow off the referee.
I think they're obviously Bartlow and the referee are having words, and
Is that a handball?
Yeah. I think Bartlow really liked what he saw on the other side of the field,
yeah.
and he was really disappointed that it didn't make it out there. It might have been another chance for them to go forward, but
well, you saw the shots on target that these two teams have, just shots in general, just one shot. For Houston, it's the goal. Efficient, some would say.
And that's why it's that phrase, goals change games, because you don't have to dominate momentum. You don't have to dominate possession, shots on target. You just, shots overall, as you mentioned, just be efficient. And I think that's something that any team would take.
Brooklyn Reigns took the knock there. He appears to be all right. Of course, Reigns had the lone goal in the victory against Tampa Bay in the last round of the Open Cup for Houston. Reigns is just 18 years old, which is impressive to be playing in these moments. He made an MLS start on the 25th of March. He's the first teenager to start for Houston in the club's history. We're just going to get a minute of stoppage time here. And Sporting Kansas City get on the board, up a player.
And Brooklyn Reigns also played in 3 of the team's U.S. Open Cup games last season as well. So experience in this tournament.
Well, that's the benefit of academies, Next Pro, all of that. There's a lot of players to kind of pull from. And if you're having a good season, I think a lot of coaches are not afraid to use those young players in big moments like this. You really get a taste for the MLS. And of course, Reigns was shining in that Tampa Bay game.
Yeah, I think for Houston, it's going to be in the second half. Can they get Ferreira, their number 9, involved in the hold-up play, especially when you're a player down? Can Ferreira hold the ball up, let numbers join in the right moments, but also possibly draw a foul here and there, creating a set piece opportunity?
Well, there's the whistle to end the first half. Thor Ulferson scores in the 12th minute, and that's the only scoring we see. However, Chase Gasper gets a red card in the 35th minute, and all of a sudden, this Houston team is in a dire spot. We'll see how they reconvene and come out in the second half.
We've seen a bit of everything here in the first 45. A clinical finish for Houston Dynamo, the red card for Houston Dynamo. Sporting KC being really good on the ball. They knew they were going to see a lot of the ball through the back, but now it's about adding the urgency and those final details and the execution in the final third if they want to go ahead and equalize.
Well, you see it, as I just mentioned, only shot on target for Houston was that goal from Ulferson. It's going to prove to be very, very important moving forward, again, with Houston down a player due to a red card for the rest of this match. So an exciting game here at Shell Energy Stadium so far. Can Sporting Kansas City tie this game up? We'll find out. We played 45 minutes of the round of 32, Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup.
Check out Wild Outdoor Purchases to the next highest number. 100% of your donation supports cancer research and programs at MD Anderson Cancer Center. better than ever thanks to SeatGeek, the official ticketing partner of the Houston Dynamo. Download the SeatGeek app today and get your seat. Dynamo fans, be sure to download the HDFC app. Later at halftime, we'll have our fan interactive Shell Energy Light Show. Make sure you have the app and ready to join by going to more, then clicking Match Day Experiences. Now turn your attention to the award for the halftime highlights.
Welcome back. It's halftime between Houston and Kansas City here. Two MLS sides going head-to-head in the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. It's 1-0. Houston has a goal. Take a look at the scores around this Open Cup tournament. And I think we saw a cup set yesterday with Pittsburgh taking down New England. Orlando City's out of it, which is interesting. Lots of interesting games yesterday across the tournament.
Yeah, as you mentioned, last year's champion Orlando City knocked out by Charlotte FC. Pittsburgh Riverhounds find an early goal and hold on 1-0. Bob Lilly's group. And Red Bulls DC United. Red Bulls, with all they dealt with throughout the weekend, the coaching change on Monday, Troy Lesane comes in, gets a 1-0 victory. Now they go back to MLS regular season. They host NYCFC on Saturday, but really big win against DC United last night. And then that Minnesota United Philadelphia Union game. I mean, 3-3 and then going to penalties. And then same with that LAFC Monterey Bay. So we had a lot of good games later in the night as well, and earlier in the night. Inter Miami beating Charleston Battery 1-0 after their chaotic Miami Classico against Miami FC, 2-2 draw through extra time and going to penalties and advancing in penalties. And then we go to tonight. You mentioned it through the first half, Loudoun United with that early red card that really changed the dynamic of that game, finishing 5-1, and then NYCFC being eliminated by FC Cincinnati.
Well, Austin FC just scored on New Mexico United just moments ago. And that's where we stand right now. A couple of, lopsided scores in this iteration, but we got a close one here at Shell Energy Stadium, and very interested to see, again, how Sporting Kansas City comes out in the second half knowing that they're a player up. Now they have really a chance to execute a different game plan.
They do. Anytime you can come into halftime and talk about those adjustments and really explain and dissect where the space is going to come from, it's going to be a benefit for Sporting KC and Peter Vermees.
Well, we're going to have highlights.
It's time for the Shell Energy Light Show.
Welcome back here to Houston. Home side up 1-0 on Sporting Kansas City after 45 minutes of play. Let's take a look at the highlights from this one. Again, round of 32 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. And Kansas City had some early opportunities.
Yeah, right out of the gate, they were able to play a ball in behind, and this ball across for Afrifa. Just needed to guide it on frame. And then for Houston Dynamo, a highlight for the first half will be short and sweet, but very effective. Ulferson bringing this ball down, putting it on his left foot. The placement, the pace, putting his team up 1-0 in that 12th minute. And as we see through the highlights for Sporting KC, they had a number of chances, and this is actually after a corner kick by Kinda that was for Rindov as well, that he sailed over bar. This one, he hits the crossbar. And then the goal for Houston Dynamo is crucial because now they pick up the red card on Gasper with that first touch. And then Kinda, again, he's been so effective on free kicks, but really good save there by Tarbell.
Well, you see the stats pretty lopsided in Kansas City's favor in pretty much every category except for goals scored. And like we said, for Houston, it's important that they took that early lead.
Yeah, 1 shot on goal, 1 goal. But I would dare to say that these numbers are going to continue on this trend because Houston Dynamo are going to be really having to absorb a lot of pressure, sit back, pick and choose their moments that they go forward and what kind of commitment they have in those moments. And for Sporting KC, you're going to have numerical advantages somewhere on the field. Now you need to find it and expose it.
We'll see if they can or not. And they played 10 minutes of that first half and weren't able to get anything goal-wise, but they definitely put some pressure on Tarbell in this defense for the Dynamo.
Yes. Sorry, I still think this is a matchup that it's Johnessy, Afrifa, and Shelton. They're gonna have an influence on this second half. So I don't think they necessarily linked up as much, but it's so early, and we talked about the squad rotation. Obviously, the first start for Afrifa. So there's gonna be growth into this match. So I think it's gonna be really important that they just be patient as well.
Yeah, just some time to kind of figure each other out because, you know, these lineups were decided a couple of days ago and they've had just limited time to practice together.
And it does look like Stephen Afrifa brought off at halftime. And Kinda as well.
Yeah, so 2 changes for Kansas City. Daniel Shallowy, excuse me, is in. Now Shallowy's a player that can score, and he's scored 13 times in Open Cups previously, so one of those players to really watch out for on the Kansas City side, and he'll come in to start this second half. Houston's also going to make a sub defensively. Kael's in. Ethan Bryant, who's typically a part of the next pro roster, got the call up. He's also going to come in. You mentioned that Kinda's out. But Shallowy and a free throw. That's a big one. Looking from a service, denied. Tarbell again seeing some action there. Not sure if that was a shot or intended to be a cross. Either way, it was whipped in with some power.
And it's those wide services again, much like the first half. When you have those kind of numbers in, and that's a tight angle for Shallowy, but really testing Tarbell there. When you have the numbers there in the box, you start to open up different lanes and different channels, and obviously Shallowy finding that angle to test Tarbell.
Well, Shallowy making his presence known early. He scored 50 goals in his career, Kansas City, and in the MLS. Very proven goal scorer. Looking to put this Kansas City team on the board. Zusi, this one up, back post for Bryant, and it bounces out of play. And Ethan Bryant, a player that Kansas City is certainly giving a look to. They've called him up in both Open Cups now. He's seeing more and more time. He's, as I mentioned, typically part of the next pro roster. He's very solid there and had a great career in USL League One. He was actually player of the year with the Richmond Kickers last season. So he's moved up the ranks, and special for him to be a part of this roster. Shelton disrupted.
You can already see it here early. Sporting KC committing an extra number from the back line into that attack earlier.
Bryant tangled up. Radoya has some time. Moves it wide. There's a big shot. And Tarbell again. Another save.
And this is the pace that Peter Vermees and his side want to see in that attacking third. They've already come out firing. We saw it from Shallowy. Now we see it from Graham Zusi.
Another set piece. Shallowy trying to track it down. Elferson, it's a full 360, lightly clears. Shallowy, Bryant, his fresh legs proving helpful as Smith went down there. That could have been a disaster for Houston. Instead, they're looking to transition or at least get out of trouble here. Down a player. Finally, just in the attacking third. Ulferson already scored a goal today. Shifty in the box. At this point, too, if you're Houston, anytime you can just possess, that's going to be extremely helpful.
Yeah, they didn't see the opportunity to go at goal right there, so they pull it back. As you mentioned, using this moment to really keep possession and force Sporting KC to chase a bit.
Well, Shelton commits the foul, rips down Dorsey there. Be back with the Dynamo. Well, we talked to both coaches and they said, look, there's probably going to be some tension in this game just because these two teams have played each other a lot in Open Cup play and just in elimination games in general. That Sporting Kansas City's really gotten the better of Houston in the last 5 meetings across all competitions. They're 4-0-1, Sporting Kansas City.
And obviously this match is going to ask Sporting KC to find an equalizer, something that they've struggled to find this year, and it's not for a lack of trying. I mean, talking to Peter Vermees, we spoke about it. This is a team that's creating chances, and really, he mentioned it. They sit 1-7-3 over on the regular season.
Bryant, light shot, tries to tuck it in the corner, and it's wide.
But there's a number of matches that they feel like they could have flipped, and whether they were draws or they could have flipped to 3 points. And a really good ball, really good run in there by Bryant. So the chances are there. Just now it's that final piece, that execution, that final pass, hitting frame and or pushing the goalkeeper to make a save in some of those instances as well.
Brindov. Espinoza. Zusi. Back to him here. Shallowy gets turned around. Back with Houston. Keone. Up that left side. Fancy footwork, fires, and it's high.
Houston Dynamo actually done a really good job of finding various outlets. Keone getting on the ball and able to drive at this back line and creating a chance for himself. We saw it with Ofarson as well.
Johnny's. Hernandez off a Houston defender there.
Sporting KC has to feel like they're going to be able to take advantage at some moment on these corners.
See Rindov lurking, Shallowy as well, who's probably headed towards that back post. This one up, doesn't have enough power on it. Shallowy runs out of space. Again, if you're just tuning in, Ulferson has the lone goal for Houston, scored in the 12th minute. And then Gasper got a red card. Johnny's clearly beat him, ripped him down on his way to the net. Clear red card. And it means that Houston only has 10 players on the pitch right now for the rest of the game.
Houston Dynamo are going to use every moment, whether it's a goal kick, throw in, take as much time as they can, but.
Here's a great chance off the post! Shelton! He can't finish!
And a really poor turnover by Houston Dynamo there, giving Sporting KC a terrific look at frame, and good block there by Bryant, and Shelton picking his spot. Had Tarbell beat, but hits that post. This game stays at 1-0. That was really one of the first clear-cut chances that Shelton's had in this matchup.
Well, Bryant's been really good in this game. He's been the aggressor multiple times since he's entered for Kansas City, and that time, look, it came off his body, but it went perfectly to Shelton, just off the post. Heartbreaking for Kansas City because we talk so much about how they're in the right spots and they're creating well, but there's no moral victories when it comes to finishing, and we haven't seen it quite yet.
Yeah, we talk about Houston Dynamo having the one chance on frame and scoring, and now Sporting KC's hit a crossbar, a post.
Johnny's boxed out. Gonna get a foul on him too.
Really good effort by both players, and you thought for a moment that Johnny's had earned his team another corner kick, but foul there. Again, another moment for Houston Dynamo to just take the air out of the ball and just sit for just a moment. Obviously, there's still plenty of time in the matchup, but anytime you can take away from the momentum that Sporting KC is building can only be a positive for the Dynamo.
That from Tarbell, who's made 4 saves already tonight. Polskamp on the other side for Sporting Kansas City. I mean, we've probably said his name one time. Just hasn't seen much action.
You talk about how cruel this game can be sometimes. The shot disparity thus far, and
well, credit to this Houston, front line, Ulferson, Keone, Ferreira. They signed up to score goals. Right now they're playing defense, and they've done pretty good job of it. Just, again, disrupting, making things difficult. It's not as flashy as you would hope when you find out you're starting an Open Cup game. It's the job that they now have with that red card.
Yeah, when you talk to coaches, almost everybody always talk about how much their team is willing to suffer in matches, and those are the teams that get results. Is, are you willing to suffer? And right now, and that means off the ball, doing the little work off the ball, the early work, as we see Shelton down. And right now, Houston Dynamo is doing it. They're shifting early. They're screening passes. But they're going to have to continue to suffer and absorb some pressure here, because there's still a lot of time for Sporting KC, and they've come out with a lot of energy.
Well, Shelton's up. Remember, he just hit the post. Appears to be all right.
And as much as the Houston Dynamo would love to be at full strength in 11v11, I mean, you go back to the foul from Gaspar. I mean, that saves a goal right there. I mean, that's the definition of, you know, unfortunately for Sporting KC, a professional foul, because that touch by Janice was terrific, and that was taking him right on frame. We obviously never got to see the outcome on whether it did equal a goal, but I mean, then you have to settle for a free kick outside the box that Tarbell makes a save on.
Well, it looks like Remy Voltaire will be the sub here. Shelton, his day is done. Espinoza. Rindov. Castellanos. Looks like Birmingham's going to beat Memphis. Nashville and FC Dallas still in a tight one, no score yet.
Yeah, we mentioned it earlier that Houston Dynamo ranks second in the MLS in fewest goals allowed in 8. Nashville leads the league in fewest goals allowed with 6. So something that Gary Smith and his side put a lot of value in is their defensive shape, how tough they are to break down, and that's something this Houston Dynamo side value as well.
Hernandez stumbles a little bit. He still gets the corner anyway.
Right now they've had to do it in a variety of different ways, having to defend a lot of set pieces.
Going short with it to Bryant. Espinoza serves it up. Header missed. Rindov was there. Left side again with Hernandez. Bryant being shoved backwards. Hernandez wide. Draws a foul. Ooh, it's gonna go against him. Looks like it's the undercut with the leg, that's the call.
It looks like it was Shaoli.
Again, Tarbell patient.
Managing that clock. And for Sporting KC, anytime you have an opponent that's finding scenarios where they can manage it, take the air out of the ball, it just grows a little bit of that frustration, and you just hope for Sporting KC and Peter Vermees that they can continue to stay active effective in what they're doing thus far. Again, just continue to give a lot of credit to Houston Dynamo and what they're doing defensively. They might get broken a couple times initially, but they're so good to get back behind the ball. They're doing everything collectively right now.
Susi serves it up. Here's a chance. Shallowy, too high.
And the two halftime substitutions, Shallowy and Bryant, have been really impactful here in the second half. You talked about that deflection that Bryant had caused for Shelton that ended up hitting the post, but Shallowy had an opportunity on Tarbell. Tarbell makes the save early in the second half, and then that header sailing it wide, but I'm sailing it over the crossbar, but unfortunately for Sporting KC, it's really become the story of this matchup thus far, and almost a continuation of some of their struggles through the regular season as well.
Vander Kues is going to come in. That's a change. Smith is out. Bryant in the middle. Hernandez. Zusi centers, flicks it behind. Espinoza. Kept in. Shallowy.
And you're not going to get a lot of looks with Houston Dynamo being spread out and open because they're not having a lot of attacking sequences like they had a few in the first half. Obviously, they converted one of them to a goal, but you're just not going to see as much back and forth as you might typically see in a second half. So you are going to have to break them down in this lower block. And that's why I think these set pieces and these corners are so important for Sporting KC.
Kansas City's had 8 of them, and they have not converted yet. We got 2 soccer balls out there. Near post action. Shallowy tries. He's blocked down. This is still dangerous. Rinduf almost. Espinoza has a chance. Slips through. Blocked again. Here's another one as he steps outside the area, so he'll settle. Lots of players in front of him now. Bryant off his right foot. Houston gets in front. Keone wants to go. Does not have numbers though, which is the difficulty here with the defensive mindset.
Really good tackle there.
Now, Houston fans not loving that as the foul gets called after that first tackle from Kansas City. It's going to go against Reigns for Houston, but we'll see this first one.
Hernandez with the tackle there, and then Brooklyn Reigns coming in, going through the back there. And for Sporting KC, you're going to look at it and see, can you find the equalizer before the 80th minute? And that gives you still 10 minutes. That's plenty of time, a player up, to find the game winner. But obviously, you have to find the first one before you find the second one. Because I would dare to say that an additional 30 minutes is going to be a bit heavy for both these teams. But for Houston Dynamo right now, they've been extremely tough to break down.
Roya. Espinoza now Off the hop, Zusi surveys. And that one way off. Fans dive deeper into the thrills and drama of the Lamar Hunt US Open Cup. Join the conversation on Twitter and Instagram at Open Cup and on Facebook at Official Open Cup. Of course, this is a knockout tournament, so a must-win for both of these sides. They cannot settle for a draw. We'll go to extra time if necessary. Obviously, we're not quite there yet.
But we talked about it before kickoff, and we saw it yesterday with New York Red Bulls. When you have a team that is sputtering a bit in that MLS regular season, this is a tournament where this could really get your team going in the right direction. Maybe not even just in the MLS regular season, but anytime you're playing for a trophy and you're just one win away from going to the round of 16 and seeing your team advance. So for Sporting KC, you could see them throw a lot of different things here late to go ahead and try to get the results, especially playing a player up. Looks like a near handball here.
Ooh.
That is.
I think that's one.
Yeah, I just didn't see a lot of Sporting KC players appealing for it, so I wasn't sure. But after that replay, and it leads to the foul against Sporting KC.
Well, we'll see it again.
Good ball. Looks like he catches that right arm of, looks like Brooklyn Reigns, and probably a bit fortunate there and get the ball playing forward and then earn themselves a free kick, and again, more time to just take off the clock.
Obviously, no VAR, so you can't review it. Dorsey being bothered there. Kansas City wins out.
This is where they can go because now they have Houston Dynamo opened up just a bit.
Voltaire, Hernandez, Shallowy. Bryant gives it away.
And you liked where that sequence was going, just unfortunately turning the ball over there.
Hernandez, Johnny's. Zusi, there's a player down for Houston, but almost pounced. It was Reigns. Johnny's falls, still has it. Off the service, it's low and it's broken up. Someone came soaring through defensively for Houston, didn't catch the number there. Houston's going to be exhausted after this one.
I was just about to say, now you're seeing it 2 sequences in a row where Sporting KC had them opened up from attacking moments, and those recovery runs begin to just get a bit slower and a bit. They recognize it and they see the space, and it's a bit casual getting back, but now had to put tremendous effort.
Still in the air. Still in the 18 as well. Voltaire, Zusi, a little bit of a trap there. Tarbell with a goal kick again, can waste some time. Abraham's going to come in for this Houston team. I'll make a change. Keone is going to come out.
And we talk about the fatigue that sets in, especially when you've defended for this long. I think this just really screams for a moment to take somebody on 1-versus-1 inside the box, possibly draw a foul, create some separation and create a chance for yourself. But I think that's where Johnny's can do it. Voltaire can do it. Shallowy's obviously been really active since coming on. We've seen Houston Dynamo really retreat into their own 18-yard box quite a bit, just preparing themselves to defend a service. But now, why not just change it up for Sporting KC and engage somebody 1-versus-1 and make them make a tackle inside the 18-yard box? And you just never know whether you draw a penalty. Sometimes late in these matchups when somebody's been worn out this much, you can draw a clumsy tackle here and there, and something that shifts the momentum in the game a bit.
So Keone's out. Abraham's on. Just some fresh legs, and that kind of served as a bit of a break there. Both teams were able to get some water if necessary and gear up for the final 15 minutes of this round of 32 game. Lamar Hunt US Open Cup. Houston riding that Ulferson goal in the 12th minute. Down a player since the 35th minute. They've survived nicely. Can they hold on is the question. Of course, the draw is tomorrow in the Open Cup, so the winner of this will find out who they play quickly. And the Open Cup continues at the end of May. Dates are the 23rd and the 24th. Espinoza floats on it. Bryant. Nice pass here to Hernandez, who just can't collect. Espinoza again, he's got plenty of time, lots of options too. Johnny's, again, the one to draw that red card, just from pure speed. Hernandez off.
And the big portion of this matchup has been the conversion rate for Sporting KC. It has not been the inability to create. As we see Nashville takes a 1-0 lead over FC Dallas.
Dorsey, Espinoza both go down. Hernandez as well, and he's the one that gets the call. Looks like we'll have some more changes. So Jake Davis will come in. Hernandez is out. Castellanos and Volder switch too, so a defensive change for Kansas City. Kansas City making their final subs too. They can't make another change. Go with this group till the end. Davis. The final third hasn't looked particularly clean for Kansas City, all things considered, you know, up a player, etc.
Yeah, they've had moments in the second half. Really a bit disconnected and out of sorts right now. Again, still plenty of time, and especially in a format like the US Open Cup. I mean, you get an equalizer here late. I mean, you see an extra 30 minutes automatically. It's not golden goal, so you've got the 2:15s.
You see the shot disparity, 15-2. Holzkamp just not on the same page, has some problems with that one, and now Houston's gonna get it in their attacking third, and again in no hurry. Dorsey the XG is incredibly high right now for Kansas City comparatively to the Houston one. I mean, 0.07 for the Dynamo. But it truly does not matter if Sporting Kansas City cannot win. I mean, you can't just point to stats and say, well, we should have.
And again, I think you look at teams, whether it's through the regular season or US Open Cup, and their identity and the story that begins to play out in these set of games. And for Sporting KC, we mentioned being at the bottom in goals for with the 5, but they rank within the top 5 in the MLS in total scoring attempts. So in those creations, so go back to that final detail. They need somebody up there to start finding the back of the net consistently, and timeliness in terms of when they score goals, whether it's early, whether it's, you know, I think you look at that matchup with the Seattle Sounders. I mean, they came out flying on the road at Lumen Field, went up 2-0. Seattle Sounders found a goal to make it 2-1. But I think that's the kind of performance that Peter Vermees and this side are kind of looking for, but they need to do it consistently.
From Zusi, Shallowy can't get there. Espinoza was in the 6 as well. Olofsson is gonna head towards the corner. That one takes a weird bounce off of Olofsson, and Davis. I think Davis wondered if it went off a hand. Kind of looked like it did.
This is where you know frustration is going to start to set in, but it's tough to say be patient because obviously time's ticking away, but you do need to stay committed to what you're looking for, and what you don't want to settle for just any kind of shot. But you know for Sporting KC, you're going to create one more really good look. Now it's about converting that one good look.
Reigns moving gingerly. From Davis. And cleared by Houston. You see Vermees, head coach for Sporting Kansas City. Quick little toss to the throw-in, wants to go. Bryant. Tripped. Set piece coming.
This is going to be a dangerous one to defend this late in the match, because now for Sporting KC, they just throw caution to the wind and throw as many numbers forward as possible, because you lose 1-0, you lose 2-0. It's all the same. You're eliminated from the US Open Cup.
Well, they've got 7 minutes and some stoppage time to figure it out. From Shallowy, nothing there.
That's just one. It looks like he's trying to get some understanding on where the runs were going, but he just overcooked the service a bit there too. I don't know whether they were looking for somebody really deep in that far post that was going to send it back across the 6-yard box, but obviously Sporting KC not on the same page on that free kick, getting Houston Dynamo off the hook, not having to defend any sort of opportunity.
Shallowy. Little combination. Here he is looking for the cross. Header too high again. How many times have we said that? So August and Maples are coming in. This is the final changes here, unless we go to extra time.
And really solid performances by both these players. Obviously, Olfarsson, the goal scorer, and right now sitting on the game-winning goal that would see his team advance to the round of 16. And Brooklyn Reigns, along with Luis Caicedo. I mean, obviously the complexion of the game changed a lot with the red card to Gasper, but they've done a good job of anchoring that midfield and being sitting in front of that back line, limiting the chances that Sporting KC's had from those angles and those areas.
Well, about 5 minutes for Sporting Kansas City. They've been up a player since the 35th minute and have not scored. Round of 32 Open Cup game draws tomorrow, 2 p.m. on Bleacher Report on the app. You can go to the YouTube channel as well. Both these teams would like to be a part of that. Such rich history, especially for Sporting Kansas City here in the Open Cup. Houston, credit to them, they've stifled every opportunity. Some of it self-inflicted for Sporting Kansas City as well.
In a lot of instances, they've bent but haven't broken. And if they could see this game out, they're going to be very proud of the overall performance. I mean, it was not the scenario that you ever want to plan for or expect, having to play a player down this long.
Dorsey's going to get a yellow. Espinoza went flying over him.
And we're going to see some stoppage time to the end of this game. So Sporting KC can really take their time, set this free kick up, make sure it's right.
Defense gets in front of that header chance. And that one's just not on target. Again, the 2023 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup ramps up over the coming weeks as the tournament's trophy comes into view. Tomorrow night, watch as the winning clubs face their fate in the round of 16 draw. See all the exciting matchups as they are made on the Bleacher Report app or Bleacher Report Football's YouTube channel at 2 Eastern. Houston fans starting to get loud here. They can feel it. Mentioned the fact that in the last 5 meetings across all competitions between these two sides, Sporting Kansas City has not lost to Houston. This would change the narrative.
But I think everything about this season thus far for Sporting KC has just not been what they're traditionally accustomed to. I think, you know, I talked about it in the Open that teams that find success, whether it's the US Open Cup or the regular season, in the playoffs, are teams that are consistent in both boxes, and that's usually a staple for Sporting KC, is they convert their chances they create. They keep opponents out of the back of the net.
Well, Sporting Kansas City has made the MLS playoffs in 10 of the last 12 seasons, and with one win this year, they have a lot of work to do to get back there. At the Open Cup, we said they've won it 4 times, all in this century.
And as we mentioned, we felt like in talking to everybody going into this matchup, we thought that this would be a matchup that they would go after, and they have, by all means, obviously being a player up, but even before that, before the Gasper red card, they were playing on the front foot. They did see a lot of the ball.
Oh, looking for one final push here. Just trying to inundate Tarbell with some shots, challenge him, get some good looks here. There's nothing to lose except for the game, but at this point, again, they need a goal. Another player down for Houston. It's a little bit of gamesmanship, I think. We're gonna get 5 whole minutes of stoppage time. So that's a good chunk. Shallowy is not loving what's going on here with Houston. They're also trying to get organized as well on the set piece. They've had a lot of time to kind of figure out what Kansas City's doing. Damian Chuck, our center referee, just gives a couple players warnings. Tarbell's ready. Short pass, open. Susi, header. Rindov's high. I mean, everything has been over the crossbar besides that one Rindov, and then of course that Shelton off the post, but man, they have just not hit frame as much as you would like.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that this was the one chance that I had mentioned earlier on that they were going to get, but that was a really clever corner kick there. Graham Zusi clipping that ball in, far post, it laid back to Rindov. But as you mentioned, I mean, everything's gone either over the crossbar wide, hit the post, hit the crossbar. So it's just, you're looking for composure in that final moment. And that's what Sporting KC's missed thus far. I mean, because they've created the chances.
Houston on the attack, why not? Ferreira. He's been in the game the whole time. And just being bothered. That will eat up some clock.
I was gonna say, even though that ended up being 2v2, I would be very surprised if the Houston Dynamo went at frame and at goal in that moment. Go to the corner, just.
Well, Ferreira was gonna get what was down, see if he was able to get up and race back. Shallowy, corner. Ooh, it's gonna be a goal kick.
Looks like the official and the linesman took a look at each other. We're trying to make a decision there. Determined that it came off Shallowy last. And you could see that he was trying to draw the corner. Takes a peek over that left shoulder, drives at this end line. And he's absolutely right. Good tackle there.
That's Mickey out, second half sub for Houston.
I mean, I don't know if Ben Olsen and his coaching staff got the look that they wanted from this back five in terms of.
Does it work?
Yeah, does it work? Is it going to be a start? I mean, obviously the first portion of it they absorbed. They had scored early on in that 12th minute. I mean, so there's going to be some takeaways, but besides that, I mean, having to play a player down, I mean, they really just had to sit back and absorb.
Yeah, they basically played a back 10 for since the 35th minute. Roughly 2 more minutes for Sporting Kansas City to tie this game up and send us to extra time in the round of 32 Open Cup. Shallowy with Dorsey. Bryant. Zusi, tackle, lands for Tarbell. That worked out nicely.
It did. It looked like it was going to play out for a corner, but just conveniently lands into the hands of Andrew Tarbell. And it's just going to be about how do you convert these chances to goals for Sporting KC and for Houston Dynamo, I mean, who are facing a big matchup with the Seattle Sounders here on Saturday, back to MLS regular season. I mean, I can't imagine that this is not a game that just completely boosts their confidence. I mean, we talked about the 5 clean sheets thus far in the MLS regular season. I mean, if you're able to keep a clean sheet and hold off a really dynamic Sporting KC side throughout this match, I mean, what a performance by Ben Olsen and his side.
This might eat up the rest of the game with it in Tarbell's hands, and he'll obviously put on a big boot. Well, there you have it. Houston holds on. They score in the 12th minute. Ulfarsson gets us going. A red card in the 35th minute against Houston. It seems like Sporting Kansas City would find the equalizer, and they do not. Houston Dynamo advance to the round of 16. The draw is tomorrow. And for Sporting Kansas City, their Open Cup is finished.
And for Ben Olsen and his side, I mean, they've just got to be extremely proud of the performance. Obviously, you don't draw it up having to play a player down and playing 10 men. But I mean, the commitment to getting behind the ball, the commitment to defense services, some of the tackles, the timeliness. I mean, they did it all tonight, and really proud of that performance for Ben Olsen and his side. And for Sporting KC, unfortunately, the MLS regular season, the frustration from that start kind of spills over to the performance in the US Open Cup, unable to find that equalizer, even going up a player and creating throughout, just unable to find the back of the net. And
well, it's a valiant effort from the Houston defense. They give it their all. Here are the highlights from this one. Again, this is the round of 32 in the Open Cup, and right away, 12th minute, look at this.
And Castellanos, you talk about it for defenders, you always want to try to clear the ball in wide areas, not central. But obviously you've got Castellanos backpedaling. It's a tough angle, and it falls to Ulfarsson. And I mean, you just can't take enough from, say enough about the finish. The prep touch, putting it on his left foot and just absolutely striking it. And then Kindo was so good on free kicks throughout the match. And this set piece was all but in the back of the net, other than the save by Tarbell, and that terrific save it was. And this was the most clear-cut chance I think Sporting KC had. They're gonna look back at 2 or 3 opportunities that they say they're gonna need to convert in the future, and this is gonna be one of them. And then Shallowy and Bryant came on to make a difference in the second half, and here Shallowy guiding that service just over the crossbar. And what a disparity in numbers here. I mean, not only just in possession, we knew that that was going to be the case, especially when Houston Dynamo went down a player, but just the shots and the shots on target. And we talked about them, Sporting KC ranking in the top 5 in scoring opportunities created in the MLS regular season, and 17 shots, 4 on target, and then for Houston Dynamo, 1 shot on target, and it was the goal.
Well, the lesson from this game is it's not about quantity, it's about quality, and that's what we learned from the Ulfarsson finish. Again, in the 12th minute, he's a hero in this one. I would say the defense is a hero as well for the Dynamo. Nice round of applause for the 22-year-old. And again, Houston in their second round, or excuse me, in their second game here in the Open Cup, come up victorious against Sporting Kansas City. Well, two MLS sides going head-to-head here at Shell Energy Stadium. It ends in a 1-0 finish. Houston Dynamo takes down Sporting Kansas City. They are moving on to the round of 16. Remember, the draw is tomorrow on Bleacher Report. You can check that out on the YouTube channel as well at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. From Eric Dobransky and our entire crew, I'm Maura Sheridan saying so long from Houston. Have a fantastic night, everyone.